was to concern me occurred in a San Francisco apartment. It was sudden and violent.
Who? Who are you expecting?
You...
You're lying! You didn't think I'd stop by tonight, did you? Come on, tell me the truth. Who was it?
Fred.
Fred Belden?
Yes, Fred.
Amy? Amy? Amy?
When Howard Fulton whistles, there are very few people who don't respond immediately. And he'd whistled for me from San Francisco to New York. The great shipbuilder of a family that had helped make San Francisco one of the major ports of the world was now in the worst kind of trouble. His son was involved in a murder and was being questioned by the police.
I left here at 5:30. I had a drink with the Alversons, who are friends of ours from New York. At 6:30, I left them.
And you went directly to Miss Williams' apartment?
Yes. Look, I've told this to a dozen people. I've answered 100 different questions. Now, how many times am I going to have to tell you?
As often as we ask it of you, Tom. How did you let yourself into the woman's apartment, Tom?
I have a key.
Go on, Tom.
I walked in and I found her. She was lying there in front of the fireplace. In a white dinner dress. The back of her head had been all smashed. Look, I don't know what happened after that. I must have panicked. I turned and ran out of the apartment.
That was at 7:10.
I suppose.
You were seen coming out of the building at 7:10, Tom. I'm afraid we're going to have to take you in, Tom.
You can't do that.
Mr. Fulton, we've questioned everybody in the neighborhood. Nobody was seen going into the building. Tom was the only person seen coming out.
You can't arrest a man on circumstantial evidence.
He'd been seeing her for months.
I'll have your job.
Meanwhile, it's my job and I've got to do it. Come on, Frank.
I'll have you removed from the force. You, your superiors, and the commissioner himself.
That was at 11 o'clock Tuesday. At 12:30 Wednesday, I was in a taxi and on my way to Howard Fulton's home. My assignment, to clear his son of a murder charge. I'd been able to find out a great deal about Fulton Sr. and a little about his son, but nothing whatsoever about Amy Williams, the girl who had been killed.
My family helped build this city, Mr. Markham. My grandfather landed on a dock at the foot of this street in 1862. From that time on, he and my father and myself, we built. And this is the way they repay us. Hauling my boy off like a common criminal, making a spectacle of him on the flimsiest sort of circumstantial evidence.
Did you know your son had been seeing this woman?
I had absolutely no idea.
What do you know about her?
A good deal. She was a cheap, two-timing little trollop. I haven't mentioned any of this to the police, and I have no intention of doing so unless it becomes absolutely necessary. My wife died 2 years ago. It was a lonely marriage at best. Then I met Amy. Beautiful. Nobody can deny that. As beautiful as she was gossamer. Young. Perhaps too young for me. And I thought she was an angel. And I loved her. I didn't find out until a few months ago what she was really like, and then I left her. And for revenge, I'm sure, she picked up my son. It's just the sort of a thing that she would have done.
Does your son know about this?
No. Amy made every man she ever met feel that he was the only one in her life. Tom probably never even knew about the others. A trash. One in particular, Fred Belden,
Who is Fred Belden?
has good reason to believe that he might have killed her.
Why would he?
For a diamond bracelet. I gave it to her 6 months ago. She wore it constantly, loved it. Now, the police have checked all her possessions. The bracelet is not among them. Doesn't it strike you, obviously, that robbery was the motive for murder?
Why didn't you tell the police all this?
I will, when I'm sure. And that's why I've hired you.
Well, before I start looking for Belden, I'd like to talk to your son.
What about?
And the diamond bracelet, for one thing. I'd like to be sure she didn't get rid of it within the past 2 months.
I'll go with you.
I didn't know. I had no idea. I suppose I should have suspected. She came up to me in a nightclub a couple of months ago. Talked. Had a date. That's how it all started. Dad, I'm sorry. What a mess.
I'm the one who was to blame, son. If it hadn't been for me, you'd never have gotten mixed up in this. But if it's the last thing I do, believe me, you'll be cleared.
Sure, Dad.
The diamond bracelet. Did you see her wearing it any time during the past 2 months?
Of course. She even had it on Saturday morning.
You saw her wearing the bracelet the morning of the day she was killed?
Sure. I went over there to her place to leave some money. It was a dress she wanted. She was wearing the bracelet then.
And you'll testify to that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I think you've given us something to work on.
Mr. Markham, we're in your hands now.
Somehow I believed the boy, and certainly his father's concern was genuine enough. Belden was obviously the next move. His address was in the book, and luckily both he and his landlady were not at home. Sometimes it helps to find out as much as possible about a man before you meet him. My keys, which are guaranteed by an old client, did their work. There is nearly always something. In this case, it didn't take very long to find it. Something that made me accept Fulton's suspicions for the first time. A picture of Amy Williams, inscribed lovingly to Fred Belden. I decided I needed to look at Belden, and that meant a wait. But I didn't mind because there was a very handsome park only a block or two away. Sitting in parks is one of the things I do best. Parks are a great place for thinking, and I had my share of thinking to do. Fulton and his boy were a devoted father and son, as are most fathers and sons. Tom Fulton had been raised to be a decent person, But even such people have been known to commit murder. I had no answer to the problem. By this time, Belden might be home and might supply me with the necessary leads. You fool, you almost got yourself killed. That's how I met Fred Belden. The Hall of Justice in San Francisco is a pretty hard place for strangers to operate in. But a phone call from Fulton tore the red tape to ribbons. Less than an hour after my encounter with Belden, I was going through the police smug files. It took time, but my long-shot hunch paid off.
That's the one. What did we get on him?
George Blake.
George Blake, alias Alex Morrell, Philip Burns. Reported having taken $2,000 from a woman in Tucson, Arizona in 1955. Promise of marriage.
May I see it?
Chief says you're to get the red carpet treatment. Be my guest.
Thanks.
Do you suppose that red carpet would stretch all the way down to the coffee counter?
Sure.
I'll be right back. Black, please.
Yes? Oh, yes, Markham.
They've got a file on Belden down here, under another name. He's something of a Don Juan. In the past 4 years, he's proposed marriage to 9 or 10 women, all out of the state. He's taken them for a lot of money and then run out on them.
I knew he was taking money from Amy.
But in any event, he's beginning to look like a pretty good prospect.
Yeah. Yes, I see. I'll get to the commissioner. You'll do it for us. Tom, I think we can do it.
Even in the city by the Golden Gate, shipping tycoons are not all powerful. And Fulton had a lot more difficulty than he'd anticipated in getting the commissioner's cooperation.
All we want is for you to ask that man for an alibi. Markham will check it out. Now, if you simply make that phone call.
All right. Can't do any harm. Have you got the number?
Here.
Take that extension.
Hello? Fred Belden? This is the police. Detective John Sloan, homicide. We're making a check of some people who knew Amy Williams. When did you see her last, Mr. Belden? 2 months ago? Well, just for the records, Mr. Belden, and so we don't have to bother you again, where were you Saturday night? Oh? What was her name? Francie what? Where does she work? Where on Fisherman's Wharf?
San Francisco has few places more picturesque than Fisherman's Wharf. What interested me about it was a girl named Francie.
Hey, Francie.
Hi.
Hello, Francie.
How'd you know my name?
He called you. A wonderful view here.
Yeah, if you like seagulls.
What do you got against seagulls?
Nothing. They just yak too much.
Oh.
Oh, hey, I didn't mean you.
Oh, I know you didn't. You work here long?
Oh, about 8 weeks.
You work nights?
Until 6. The place closes then. Why?
And suppose I come back at 6.
My boyfriend wouldn't like it.
Oh.
Decide what you want?
Yeah, give me some scrambled eggs and toast.
Okay.
You always go out with your boyfriend?
Yeah?
Sounds serious.
He is. Very serious. He asked me to marry him.
Oh. When's the happy day?
As soon as Jimmy gets a job.
Jimmy. That's his name?
Yeah. Jimmy Ansem.